Hey, John, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Laurie, I am so excited for this. Thank you so much. I've looked up to you, and I have a couple of mutual friends who rave about you as first and foremost, a person, and some of the innovative stuff you've been doing in HR and HR thought leadership for as long as you have. And now punk rock. As a kid from Akron, Ohio, Devo did
That's
Devo invent
right.
punk rock? I'm sure they didn't, but in my mind, they did.
I love Devo. I love it, John. I love the energy you're bringing. I mean, I don't know what these friends allegedly said about me, but I've only been in HR for a few years. So I don't know. I can't have that much of an impact. It's just been like 3 years that I've been doing this. So
Well, you get a lot done in a short period of time, Lord. That's how you roll. That's why they make they're so kind and caring. Can you believe how much she's done in just 3 years?
I know. Time flies when you're having fun. Well, listen, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So I always ask people to kick us off to say, who they are and what they're all about. So, John, what's your story? What's the hot goss?
Well, I'll start off with I'm Will and Mal's dad. I got a 17-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. They're here at the house right now. I asked them to not be on the Wi-Fi because when like 7 people get on our Wi-Fi, I might come across like a robot.
Yeah.
My son he's a landscape designer. He's owned his own business for a number of years. I write about him in my book. I couldn't be more proud of what he has accomplished in his life. My daughter is an artist, takes after my mom and my sister and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, which is crazy. They're both a delight. Super thankful to have them. Been married for up to 27 years to my wife, Emily. I'm from Akron, Ohio, Northeast Ohio. Never really left other than for travel. And I avidly love business. I love golf. And I love being able to spend time with the people that I care about and give them my full self the best I can.
John, when I work with human resources professionals, they have a background in education, theater, English, history, right? They're not psychologists, they're not therapists, they're not trained, at least most of them are not trained that way. And we put them in these situations where they have to navigate the landfill, the minefield of the human heart. And I think it's a lot to ask HR professionals to take on. And I just wonder, why aren't we demanding more of managers and leaders? Why aren't we putting the onus on the people who run the business and are accountable for the business to do the work of human resources in a way that we ask them to be mindful of a budget, or we ask them to comply with safety requirements around a shop floor, or be compliant with, guidelines from OSHA? Why is it this weird emotional thing of human resources has to fall to a secondary department when we ask managers to do other aspects of business? What do you think about that?
Well, first and foremost, those managers are not prepared for the job that they have right off the jump. They're not getting proper training and coaching. The data, all the statistics all show it. I wrote about it in my book. DDI did this report back in the early 2020 around how much time do managers get trained? Like when do they get trained? It's around month 47. So, hey, go have this job. I use this analogy all the time of, hey, you know what, little kid, you're my son. I love you to death. Let's go to the swimming pool. But I'm just going to throw you in the deep end. And for 4 years, you figure out how to be able to swim in the deep end. That's not going to work. You would never do that. But we do it because we're lazy. I think we do it because, okay, you think this is a high potential. You're our best salesperson or marketing professional. We're going to elevate you to a director or manager. And inevitably, most people don't know how to deal with the really complex stuff of management. That's
Yeah.
conflict, it's communication, it's treating people with empathy, caring about them, being curious, creating accountability for them in the process. And I think as a result of that, organizations have missed it. But if you read any prominent, well-known business book, what do they tell you? The first place to attack if you got an issue is you got to go to your executive leadership team and your managers. Because I tell my clients that all the time. If you have an issue in your business, it 99 of 100 times has to do with the manager who's responsible for whatever is going on.
Yeah.
And if you're not looking at it in that way, then I think you're completely missing the mark. And I share that all the time. I get asked that question. Hey, John, how do I do HR like a boss? What's the very first thing I should do? Go look at all your managers, put them on a list, say these are the ones that get it and these are the ones that don't. The ones that get it, give them tools, resources, coaching, and experiences. and promotional opportunities, the ones that you don't think, identify them and say, okay, are they long for this business and you think they have potential? Train them up. The ones that aren't, coach them out. Simple as that.
I like that we're both dreamers. And I wonder if there's another lesson that you'd like to share with us from HR Like a Boss, a lesson that's important and meaningful that you think our community needs to hear.
Well, as you know, as a content creator and having several friends and along with your expertise in writing and whatnot, probably one of the most unique things about writing HR Like a Boss is I'm not a writer. So I decided to write it. I was a business person, golfer, dad, all these things, but had this harebrained idea. Saw Steve Brown do it, Chris Dunn, Tim Sackett, all people I know, you know. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
all the OGs, all the
yeah,
old
I
men.
know Sackett, like, I love Sackett, but he's super smart, like, I think I'm kinda close to smart as him, I can write. Anyway, I started writing my book, I had this routine down, I got in this pattern, I said, "Okay, 50,000 words, 1,000 words every weekend, just dedicated, focused, discipline to it." And the most unique part about writing to me and the part that was a struggle was reading back my own work. I'm like, "Oh gosh,
Mhm.
okay, I gotta read this back, do I," and I had to read it back multiple times to make
Yeah.
sure all the T's were crossed and I's were dotted. There was one section, chapter 14, I got that piece of advice from a friend of, you need a money chapter. You need to have something in the book that you can send people to and gravitate. They'll flip from page 1 to page 200X, whatever it was. And it was chapter 14, which is building the HR Like a Boss business plan. And the very first thing on that was having a purposeful commitment. I mentioned it earlier. I think it's critical for organizations to have a clearly defined purpose and to find people that align to that, because people will do really unique, innovative, creative things when they have a vocation, when they have intention in something they believe in. And I truly believe, like we talked a little bit about religion earlier, sometimes work is church. You spend a
Mhm.
lot of time at work, you spend a lot of time around people in a community. And if that community is doing something that feels good and that you understand how my role as an IT analyst or my role as a marketing intern connects to the purpose of this business, you can really get people to perform and do things you wouldn't expect them to do. My guess is logically, you'll end up having an improved bottom line. The data's all out there. It says 42% of companies that have clearly defined purposes sorry, companies that have a clear defined purpose outperform those that don't by over 42%, which seems staggeringly high. But in my mind, it's doing the right thing. So why don't we keep doing it and trying it?
So you've got this book, you've got this brand that you've built, but really you're a businessman and you run an interesting organization that you're passionate about. So tell us a little bit about what is your main hustle, not your side hustle, your
Yes.
company.
Yes. Thank you. I own two companies. One most don't know about. It's a little water vending company in Northeast Ohio. We sell reverse osmosis water for 25 cents a gallon. It's basically sometimes 400% less expensive than when you can buy it off the shelf. And it's a pretty cool company. It has really steady growth, and we're trying to do right in our community. But what got me on this podcast is Willery. Named it after my kids. I have a Will and a Mallory. Merged those names together. Convinced my wife 15 years ago in the recession that it was a good idea for me to start a business, quit my job, have no income. That was an interesting couple months of my life. Anyway, we founded Willery to empower people, and we're hyper focused in doing two things. We're hyper focused in staffing, so we do a lot of placement and contract, temporary, managed service around HR, payroll, and HR tech. And then we are one of the leaders in the HR tech implementation, optimization, and selection space. So we work in the mid market and help companies navigate through all the complexities that go with selecting, implementing, and optimizing HR tech.
Oh my God. Why do you do that work?
Good questions. Because frankly, when I left, I used to work for ADP, and I would sell these deals to clients, and it was this marriage that we had, this honeymoon phase. We would date in the sales process, and all of
Mhm.
a sudden we talk about, hey, I think we want to get married and do businesses together. And we'd sign a contract, we get married, and then we would get an implementation. And I'm drawing this image of you're at the top of the mountain, and it's just this immediate, oh, wait a second, gotta do all this work. How am I gonna implement this system? Don't you realize I have a full-time job? And that
Mhm.
happened once, twice, 6, 10, 15 times. And I thought to myself, there's gotta be a better way. So I ended up building a boutique firm that can help clients in that time when they're implementing those systems and bring expertise. I use it as an analogy of Like if you're ever play golf, which I do, obviously I shared that before. Playing golf with a caddy is a lot more fun. It's enjoyable. It may cost you a little bit more, but you're going to enjoy the round. We're basically like a professional caddy
Mm.
when it comes to HR technology. And I just feel like it was another a support mechanism for human resource professionals that have a difficult job in the first place, but they need technologies these days to make their life easier because their responsibility levels have elevated significantly. And if they're not leveraging technology, then they're just going to end up quitting, hating their job. And then that'll trickle down to the people that they serve. They'll end up quitting, high turnover. You get it.